Can I pitch a work tape if I don't have a demo? Do I always have to have a demo? The answer is no. It really all depends on who you're working with, on who you are pitching to. There are publishers out there who only want to listen to demos. There are publishers out there who are just fine with a work tape because they can hear through the work tape, they can get the feel for what the song sounds like, and they really don't mind. Now, with that said, you need to make sure if you're pitching a work tape, you need to make sure it sounds good. Make sure there's not a bunch of noise in the background. You want to make sure that it's a clean recording. Hey, welcome to the Songwriting Chronicles, where we're diving into the soul of songwriting, note by note. I'm your host, Sundi Jo, and I am glad to be back for another episode, taking you on the journey through the captivating world of songwriting. So have you ever heard the terms like cut, hold, demo, and wondered what they really mean? Or maybe you've encountered contracts and felt like you needed a law degree just to understand them. Well, guess what, my friend? You are not alone. And so I wanted to take some time today to just break down some of these terms so that you and I can both speak the lingo like a pro and understand the ins and outs of the industry. Before we dive into today's episode, though, I want to share some really cool stuff that's happening here in my little bitty songwriting world. And maybe I'm sharing it because maybe it will inspire you to keep pushing through in your songwriting journey. Maybe you're in the very beginning. Maybe you're tired and you need a pep me up. Regardless, I hope it inspires you to keep pushing forward. So on June 20th, I'm excited to announce that I'm doing a songwriters round with some really great friends of mine here in Branson, Missouri, with the Jukebox Winos and with my buddy, Kristen Buddy, who is a Nashville recording artist. Here's the thing. I mean, seriously, I tell you, the music business really is all about building relationships. So here's a quick backstory for you. So a couple of years ago, my friend Jennifer took part in this course from Artist And. So there she met my buddy, Kristen Buddy, who's a Nashville recording artist and songwriter, like I said. And she thought that we would hit it off. So she connected us on Instagram. So we ended up, this has been a few years ago, 2-3 years ago, we ended up connecting for a virtual coffee and we just hit it off. And we've been friends ever since then. We have coffee, we have dinner when I'm in Nashville, we write together sometimes. And she truly has become one of my favorite people in the world. Well, it turns out that she knew somebody in the Branson area that she connected with through Artist And as well. And that is Debbie Olson from the Jukebox Winos. And so then I got to meet Debbie last year. We both live in Branson. I got to meet her last year. And since then, we have done some really fun shows together. So then in the middle of this story includes meeting a Grammy Award-winning songwriter, Nicole Witt, which I talked about in a previous episode, and I'll share the link to that in the show notes for you. I talked about why relationships matter, why networking matters. Anyway, so we're all doing a show together. So on Thursday, June 20th, I'm hitting the stage at the Nest concert venue here in Branson for a songwriters round with the Jukebox Winos and Kristen Buddy. It's going to be so much fun. I've played with them separately, but I'm so excited to play with them all together. And I'm telling you, you will fall in love with the Nest concert venue. It's just a beautiful, intimate place for songwriters. And my sweet friends, Tom and Andrea Brett, own it. They've been staples here in the Branson world. They used to do a show here for 25 years called the Brett Family Show. Anyway, amazing venues. And so I'm so excited to be part of this. The Jukebox Winos, they are no stranger to the stage. They've done over 700 shows to date here in this area. And Kristen, she's an amazing writer. She hosts, she writes these really honest and thoughtful songs, and she weaves her lyrics together kind of like a conversation, that you're having with your best friend. And then there's me, right, who loves to bring my soulful style to my music and hope that it resonates with all. And Kristen actually released an EP last year called Begin Again. Incredible. You need to listen to it. Anyway, we're combining all of our talents for one night, and I am super excited about it. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, guess what? There's still time. And if you don't live in Branson, can't make it to Branson, that's okay too. There's a live stream option available. And Tom Brett, owner of the Nest, has just invested some incredible money into the whole live stream experience. It's going to be awesome. So you're definitely going to get your money's worth. So anyway, make plans for that June 20th. You can get your tickets at nestconcerts.com. And again, I'll share the link in the show notes for you for that. And then back to my story, weaving in the relationship building, I ended up meeting Nicole Witt through that, right? Well, she's hosting a songwriters workshop here in Branson on Saturday, June 29th. And then following that evening at 7 o'clock, she's going to be hosting a concert where yours truly gets to open up for her. So I'm really excited about that. Nicole's been mentoring and coaching songwriters and artists for 10 years through Artistan, like I've mentioned, which she co-owns with her best friend, Crystal Wells. She's going to talk about the basic fundamentals of songwriting, and she's going to explore her favorite topic, which is the last 10%. And then, like I said, at 7 p.m., she's doing a show. I get to open for her at the Sun Theater in Branson. It's going to be awesome. You don't want to miss it. Again, I'm going to share the link to that in the show notes so that you can get your tickets. And if you're an NSAI member, you get a discount to both shows, and I will share how to do that later on in this episode. You can get a hold of me, and I'll make sure you get the discount code. So lots of exciting stuff happening, right? With that said, let's get to today's episode on decoding the music business lingo. All right, so let's talk about a demo. A demo is also known as a demonstration recording, and it's a more professional recording of your song, usually used to showcase to artists, producers, publishers, things like that. And it usually means that you're paying somebody to create this recording for you, unless you're writing in the room with an artist or somebody, another songwriter that has that experience, that has the equipment to professionally record it there, which I highly recommend, by the way. It will save you a ton of money. And then there's the work tape, which is more of a rough, unpolished recording of a song. And it's typically just made, by the person who wrote the song. And like I said, it's just a simple recording. So you might just be recording it into your phone. And the purpose of it is just to capture the basic idea of the song, right? The melody, the lyrics, the chord progression, things like that. It's not always meant. Now, notice how I said it's not always meant. It's not always meant to be a finished product, but kind of a way to document the song and share it with others who want to hear it, maybe share it with others for feedback. Now, this is a pretty common question that I get. Can I pitch a work tape if I don't have a demo? Do I always have to have a demo? The answer is no. It really all depends on who you're working with, on who you are pitching to. There are publishers out there who only want to listen to demos. There are publishers out there who are just fine with a work tape because they can hear through the work tape. They can get the feel for what the song sounds like, and they really don't mind. Now, with that said, you need to make sure, if you're pitching a work tape, you need to make sure it sounds good. Make sure there's not a bunch of noise in the background. You want to make sure that it's a clean recording. And I've actually met with a lot of publishers lately who said they just prefer a guitar demo versus a full demo. And guess what? I really appreciate that, especially if I'm not writing with an artist or somebody else that has the professional equipment to be able to put the demo together, because it is a whole heck of a lot cheaper. So a lot of times you can just pay for that guitar demo. Again, it's going to save you a lot more money, but sometimes you can just record a work tape that sounds just as good or good enough for the publisher to get the feel of what you're trying to do. So before you go out and you spend a bunch of money, figure out what the publisher wants, figure out what people are looking for. I'm getting ready to pitch to a publisher. They're looking for a very specific song. We had a very specific writing assignment for this. And she said, don't pay money for a demo until I hear the work tape, so I can tell you if you need to make some changes before you go spend money on the demo. I really appreciate that, right? Because demos aren't cheap. Okay. So now let's talk about a hold. What is a hold? So when a publisher or an artist or a representative places a song on hold, it means that they're reserving the song for potential use. They like it. They might want to record it. Notice how I said might. So they're basically saying to you, I love this song enough to want to think about recording it. So I'm going to put it over in this pile because that's where I'm at with it right now. Okay. So during this time, the song shouldn't be pitched to other artists or other publishers, because you've got somebody who's saying, I love this song enough that I want to record it. Right now, remember this. Having a song on hold is awesome. Very positive sign. Does not always guarantee that the song is going to be cut. Okay. So that's pretty simple, straight to the point, right? Okay. Now let's talk about pitching. So this is the process of presenting songs to artists, producers, A&R reps with the aim of getting a cut, okay? So you can pitch songs to artists yourself if you have access to them, but oftentimes pitching is done through publishers. It's done through other industry pros, okay? And then we have the single song contract. So what this is an agreement between a songwriter and a publisher where the songwriter grants the publisher the rights to a specific song. And so publishers often do this when they love the song enough to want to pitch it, but they're not just going to offer you a full publishing deal, right? They like you, they like the song, they think you're a great writer because you produce a great song, but they don't like you enough to say, here's a publishing deal, right? Let's just be real about it. Now, these aren't as popular as they used to be because now things are just kind of operating on a, hey, I want to pitch the song around kind of thing. And I'm going to trust that you're going to trust me to do so, right? But they're still used, they still exist. I've actually received 3 different single song contracts with 3 different publishers or A&R reps, which means they like the song enough, right, to think that they can get it cut and they're willing to invest the time to pitch it. Now, they didn't invest any money in me. There was no money that traded hands. That won't happen until they get the actual cut, right? But I'm starting to see some traction from that. And so hopefully I will have some good news to share with you in the future on that. And so single song contracts, they usually are signed for a year. That's usually kind of what the term is. Not always, it just depends. But that doesn't mean that you don't just sit on it and never pitch it for yourself. That doesn't mean you just trust it into the hands of the publisher for the next year and don't do anything with it, okay? Don't just expect the publisher to do all the work. You've got to be doing your part as well too. Pitch that song, okay? Now let's talk about a publishing deal. So this is a whole new level. It's what many of us songwriters dream about, right? And so here's the short version. I'm not going to dive deep into this. I'll just give you the short version. It gives a publisher the right to represent your songs and to collect royalties on your behalf, basically. There's a lot more to this, okay? And I'm hoping that I'm going to get some industry pros on the podcast to talk to and dive deeper into this together, okay? Let's talk about a publisher. So a publisher is an individual or a company, right? They create, they license, they administer music, right? So they sign songwriters like yourself and or songs, and they work to get those songs recorded by artists, right? And so once the songs are recorded, publishers also handle all the administrative tasks to ensure that their writers, you and themselves, get paid. Okay, so publishers, I want you to remember this because listen, and this will probably be a whole nother podcast. There are a lot of people out there who want to rip you off, okay? And again, this is why it's important to know the lingo and not let people fool you with it. But publishers generally don't put songs on hold, okay? So their primary focus is on securing cuts for their staff writers, okay? Hey, are you a songwriter looking to take your creativity to the next level? Listen up because I've got something special just for you. Introducing the Full Focus Planner, your ultimate tool for unleashing your songwriting potential. It's time to go beyond ordinary notebooks and scattered ideas and take control of your creative process. I've used it for years, and it has changed how I pursue my songwriting goals. So with the Full Focus Planner, you're going to find a structured system designed specifically for songwriters like you. It's the perfect companion to help you set clear goals, plan your songwriting sessions, and stay on track to create your best work. So imagine having a dedicated space to capture your inspirations, map out your song structures, and track your progress all in one place. Well, the Full Focus Planner provides a powerful platform to organize your thoughts and your ideas, ensuring no brilliant melody or lyrics are going to slip through the cracks. But it doesn't stop there. The Full Focus Planner also incorporates proven productivity strategies that help you manage your time effectively, eliminate distractions. Lord knows we all have distractions, especially us creatives, right? And stay focused on what truly matters, which is your music. I seriously call my planner my second brain. I cannot imagine trying to navigate through the ins and outs of every day without it. It truly has been a lifesaver for me. So whether you're a seasoned songwriter or you're just starting out, the Full Focus Planner is a game changer. It empowers you to establish a routine, maintain consistency, and confidently achieve your songwriting goals. So here's the question. Why settle for average when you can excel? Elevate your songwriting journey today with the Full Focus Planner. You can find the link in the show notes. And when you use code SundiJo10, that's SUNDIJO10, you get $10 off your first order. All right, so let's talk about A&R. So A&R stands for Artists and Repertoire. So these are basically the talent scouts of the music industry. They're responsible for discovering new talent. They're responsible for overseeing the artistic development of recording artists. And so here's the thing. You want to be on the good side of the A&R peeps, okay? They're the gatekeepers of your songs. Basically, that's the gist of it. They're the gatekeepers of your songs, okay? All right, now let's talk about the cut. The big goal that we all have as songwriters, right, is to get a cut. So when we talk about a cut, we're referring to a song that's been recorded and released by an artist. Getting a cut's a big deal, right? It means your song has made it through all the selection processes and is officially part of an artist's discography, right? Like they're going for it. So when I say recorded by an artist, what do I mean? I'm not talking about your buddy down the road who just recorded a song on his iPhone and released it, right? Because anybody can release music these days. That's not a cut. That's just an independent release from your buddy on his phone, right? Now, this can get tricky, and this is, I think, goes down to an opinion thing. Some say a cut only counts as being recorded by somebody with a record deal. I disagree with that. There are hundreds of independent artists out there who are killing it in the music business. They're doing it without a record label. They're doing it for a living. They're touring all the time. They're selling merchandise. People love their songs. They've got millions of streams, all the things. But they don't have a record deal. They're not on the radio. Let me give you an example. So I'm a big fan of Hannah Dasher. She's a country artist. She's an amazing singer. She's an amazing songwriter. She's taken Nashville by storm. Her tour schedule is packed. She's been labeled as one of the CMT Next Women of Country. She's making a living as an artist. But guess what? She's not on the radio. If she records one of my songs, I'm counting it as a cut. Right? Make sense? And speaking of Hannah Dasher, selfless, shameless plug here, she released a song last year called Ugly Houses. I fell in love with the song and I decided that I wanted to cut it myself. So I reached out to her. I was like, hey, I love this song. Would you mind if I cut it? She's like, absolutely, you bet. I was super excited. So with that, I am excited still to announce that my version of Ugly Houses is coming out on June 28th, and you can pre-save it today, and I will share the link to that in the show notes. And if you're listening after June 28th, well, guess what? You can stream it wherever you stream music. But avoid Spotify because, again, they've just stolen $150 million more from songwriters. But I digress. All right, now let's talk about a single. So in the music industry, a single traditionally refers to a song that's been released to radio for promotional purposes. So it's a song that's released separately from an album, right? Typically with the intention of being promoted to radio stations, to streaming services, other media outlets. Now, again, this is an opinion, just like I talked about the cuts, depending on who you ask. Some only accept a single as something that's been released to radio. So if it's just been released to streaming platforms like Apple, maybe you want to call it an Apple single or a Pandora single or etc., right? Not naming the other popular platform, but you get the hint. Now, I'm careful to do this because I'm an independent artist myself, right? So when promoting my music, I usually say like release. So I was just talking about Ugly Houses, right? So I'm not going to say listen to my next single on June 28th. I'm going to say listen to my next release, Ugly Houses on June 28th, right? That way I'm not confusing anybody. But again, this is not a set in stone rule. I think it just goes down to another opinion. There are a lot of opinions in the music business. Remember that. There are a lot of opinions. Okay, one last one I want to touch on real quick is a PRO, which is a performing rights organization. And I want to touch on it quickly because I think we might do a whole separate episode on this. But for now, it stands for Performance Rights Organization. And so these organizations, they collect and distribute performance royalties to songwriters and publishers. So think BMI, ASCAP, and CSAC. And know this, you cannot be a songwriter. I mean, if you're going to do this professionally without having a PRO, you have to have a PRO, okay? And I think we might dig into this in a whole nother episode. But for now, PRO stands for Performing Rights Organization. So you want to think of the music industry as a club with its own secret language, right? So when you walk in and you start throwing around terms like cut and sync and publishing deal. And we didn't talk about sync today, but you want to do that with confidence. You instantly signal that you belong, right? You show that you're not just a passionate musician, you're not just a passionate songwriter, but you're a pro, right? You're the savvy pro who understands the inner workings of the industry. So I hope that was helpful for you today. And I think that's it for today, my friend. I'm sure I missed some things, but these are a lot of the basic questions I get, and so I wanted to share with you. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Songwriting Chronicles wherever you listen and share with a friend so that we can get the podcast out to as many people as possible. And again, I'd love to see you on June 20th at the Nest Concert Venue in Branson with my friends, the Jukebox Winos and Kristen Buddy. And again on June 29th for the Songwriting Workshop and Concert with Grammy Award-winning songwriter Nicole Witt. And like I said earlier, if you're an NSAI member, Nashville Songwriters Association International member, discounts are available for both shows. So you can just shoot me an email, sj@sundijo.com. Let me know you're an NSAI member, and I will make sure that you get the discount code for that. And again, I will share the link in the show notes for everything that we talked about. I appreciate you listening to today's episode, and I will see you again in the next episode of the Songwriting Chronicles.
Thanks for listening to my Aunt Esther's podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. And remember this, keep writing, keep dreaming, and keep pushing forward because your words matter.